Administration, Director of Supreme Board of AMOC, and the #1 Associate Soror, Frater Dr. Prince Kenneth Idiode. You are welcome, sir. We heartily and respectfully welcome the National Coordinator of SIROC, Light Bearers Association, Colomb and Junior Order, Soror Bubemi Bridget Idiode. Our dear mommy, you are welcome, ma. We will also welcome our Assistant National Coordinator and Regional Monitor, Thalys Lodge, Port Harcourt, Soror Eunice Otete. Ma, you are welcome. We welcome our League of Advisors, made up of all SIROC past presidents. We recognize the presence of SIROC National Executive. We recognize the presence of zonal chairpersons with us from the 5 zones, the Northern Zone, Eastern Zone, Western Zone, Lagos Zone, and Edo Delta Zone. We will also like to recognize our facilitators. We want to most especially recognize the cluster groups all over the nation, from Apollonius Lodge, Calabar, Centrum Lodge, Abuja, Chromata Lodge, Enugu, Kutumi Lodge, Warri. We acknowledge Isis Lodge, Lagos, Eton Lodge, Uyo, and we will be acknowledging all other cluster groups as they join us. We recognize and appreciate all participants, and we invite you to sit back, relax, and enjoy today's proceedings. May we now take SIROC anthem. Thank you. Thank you very much. Let there be love shared amongst us. We shall now respectfully invite the regional monitor of Morning Light Chapter, Kaduna, past president of SIROC, Soro Veronica Edivri, to give us opening invocation. We are having some technical glitches, but we would like to invite our SIROC president, Soro Florence Nwosu, to please give us opening invocation.
Let us unite in invocation. O wonderful, beautiful kingdom of light, shed upon these humble souls the beam of cosmic consciousness. Reach down and touch the souls that want and stir our minds with thoughts divine. Cast out all evil and take into the world of love our hearts and psychic selves, that thus made ourselves shall be but self for all. May we be made receptive to the knowledge we are about to receive today, that when applied to our lives, it will be for our own good, for the good of our noble order, and for the good of humanity in general. So mote it be.
So mote it be. Thank you very much, our beloved president. We shall now go to the theme lecture of the day. This lecture will be taken.
Opening address.
We invite the SIROC National Chairperson, National President, to please give us her opening remark.
Greetings, everyone, and hooray, SIROC is 20. Up, Sisters of the Rosy Cross.
Keep the rose blooming.
Up, Sisters of the Rosy Cross.
Keep the rose blooming.
Up, Sisters of the Rosy Cross.
Keep the rose blooming.
It gives me immense warmth and great pleasure to welcome you all to the second webinar of Sisters of the Rosy Cross. Webinars are organized and conducted so that participants may receive information that will remain effective in their lives. The theme for this year's webinar, Stability in the Face of Crisis, was chosen keeping in mind contemporary issues in our country. It is a sad reality that we have huge social problems affecting everyone. It has become necessary that we learn to face these challenges with equanimity and start solving these problems right from our homes. It is a sincere wish that at the end of this webinar, participants will be able to face their challenges with calmness, maintain good mental health, be able to render service at all times, not minding their own challenges, raise responsible citizens from their families, and acquire network marketing skills to augment the finances of their families, thereby bringing about economic independence. To achieve these objectives, different discourses will be presented by experienced facilitators. I want to convey my sincere gratitude to the Grand Administrator for the English West African Administration of the Rosicrucian Order, AMOC, Dr. Kenneth Idiodi, and his lovely wife, the National Coordinator of Sisters of the Rosy Cross, Sarah G.B. Idiodi. Their guidance and support has assisted in great measures in making this webinar a reality. I want to appreciate all Grand for joining us. If you are a non-member who is joining us for the first time, I congratulate you for this bold step. My beloved SIROCs, thank you all for your continuous support and your contributions. I want to reiterate that the pandemic is not yet over. The new variants of COVID have been reported to be very deadly. So let us continue with our hygienic practices, physical distancing, and wearing of masks to stay safe. I now invite you all to relax and enjoy the webinar, as I strongly believe that we will all be enriched in knowledge. May the light of God and the benediction of the masters abide with us today and always. So mote it be.
So mote it be. Thank you very much, our beloved President, Soro Florence Uwosu. Up, sisters of the Rosy Cross, keep the rose blooming, keep the rose blooming. Up, sisters of the Rosy Cross. May we now respectfully welcome the National Coordinator of SIROC and our dear mommy, Soro Bridget Idiode, to give her welcome address and declare the webinar open. I'm sure she has a lot to say to us, especially in this 20th year of SIROC existence. Ma, you are welcome.
Thank you, beautiful moderator. Up, sisters of the Rosy Cross, keep the rose blooming. Beloved dignitaries of our order and our participants at this webinar, greetings.
Greetings, ma.
On behalf of the Supreme and Grand Lodge officers of the Rosicrucian Order AMOC, I welcome you all to the 2021 Zonal Seminar of Sisters of the Rosy Cross, which is being hosted on Zoom webinar today. I bring you greetings from our beloved Grand Administrator of the English West Africa Administration, EWAD, Frater Kenneth U. Idiodi, and the executives of Sisters of the Rosy Cross, SIROC. Here we are again, hosting this zonal seminar virtually in 2021, but this time mainly due to the level of insecurity and economic downturn in our country, as against the raging coronavirus of last year, which we have not even overcome, as We now are talking of third wave in Nigeria and fourth wave in other parts of the world. On behalf of the Resolution Order, AMOC, we sympathize with all those who have lost their lives due to the ongoing crisis, insecurity, and from the COVID-19 coronavirus in the country and in other parts of the world. We wish to appeal to all to please abide by the COVID-19 protocol in your different areas and to keep safe as well. And also to ensure you go for the ongoing COVID-19 vaccination, which I have done. We miss you miss your physical presence at the different zones of the country. But we are grateful to God for our lives to see this day, in spite of the different challenges we have faced in our world of today. In spite of these challenges, we hope you will make the best of these 2 days virtual webinar for your spiritual growth and benefits. As of today, most nations of the world are facing one form of crisis or challenge. And in the face of this crisis, it is the women or mothers that bear the weight of the negative consequences. In that the male of our society are the one taken on or drafted to quell the crisis or wars, during which most lose their lives. The women are left at home to care for the family and the young ones and to face the adverse effects of the different crises, especially instability, hunger, food scarcity, poor economy, diseases, and mental health situations. The Sisters of the Rosy Cross, as part of their celebration of their 2020 anniversary, of their 20th anniversary, have decided to rub minds and see what possible solutions to profile and to ameliorate the effect of crisis and how to avoid and cope with some of the consequences. Hence, the theme, stability in the face of crisis. We have also asked ourselves the question, women, where have we gone wrong in our parenting? As the mothers are the vessels that conceive, nurture, and care mostly for the type of human beings who have grown to generate and cause the different crises we now face in our world of today. If mothers and would-be mothers of tomorrow can contemplate and visualize the world of our dreams and infuse same into our sleepless, the world will be a different place. If these spiritual thoughts form are infused from prenatal, natal, and postal period of the child, our world will be better to live in. If mothers give more attention to mysticism and spirituality and proper upbringing of our children and concentrate less on the material things of life, we will have human beings with less negative tendencies and vices, and who will create a better world as they will be just, they will be compassionate and caring, and more spiritual, and most importantly, they will be less materialistic in their ways of life. Please, at this time, I say sit, relax, and enjoy the different presentations from our facilitators, who are profound in their different fields of their endeavors, as you will see from their presentations. It is now my singular pleasure and privilege to declare the 2021 Sisters of the Rosy Cross Zonal Zoom webinar open. Thank you all. God bless you and remain blessed.
Thank you, our beloved mommy. The message is clear. Mothers focus more on spirituality and children upbringing than materialism. Thank you, Ma. At this point, I would like to recognize the Grand Counselor of Centrum Lodge, Abuja, Frater David Watagere, and also the regional monitor, Frater Chijioke Ikpa. I would also like to recognize the regional monitor of Akhenaten, Frater Omie Benkalio. Thank you, sir, for joining us and your cluster group. I also want to recognize my own cluster here in Zoa Lodge, Bayelsa, Yenagua, and our beloved RM who is with us, Frater Professor Edmond Alitinobu. Thank you, sir, for joining us. At this point, I would like to introduce the theme lecture for the day, which is titled Stability in the Face of Crisis. And this lecture will be delivered by no other person than Soror Vivian Edet, past master of Apollonius Lodge, immediate past chairperson of Eastern Zone of SIROC, a seasoned administrator, and a veteran broadcaster. Soror Vivian, with her wealth of experience, is indeed well prepared to give us this lecture. Ma, you are welcome. Thank you.
Thank you very much, our beloved moderator. Dignitaries of our order, permit me to stand on the existing protocol for want of time. My duty here is to take the theme lecture for this webinar titled Stability in the Face of Crisis. I'll first like to express my gratitude to the organizers of this program for giving me this opportunity of service. Stability in the face of crisis. Introduction. There is no gainsaying the fact that the world we live in today is in chaos. Think of the numerous daily occurrences, be they natural or man-made. Think of the tsunamis, the cyclones, earthquakes, economic downturn, social malaise, complete breakdown of law and order, wars, emerging and re-emerging diseases, and others too numerous to mention. This is to the extent that if people were given the opportunity, some will even ask God to stop the train so they can get out. With a desperate scenario such as this, one wonders what could be done. Do we just fold our hands and watch things go the way they are going? Certainly no. As Rosicrucian mystics, these trying times give us a wake-up call, and we just have to be alive to our responsibilities. The question then arises, is it possible for one to remain calm or unperturbed amidst a state of turbulence as we are witnessing? Well, while you ponder about this, let's get acquainted with the key terms involved here. So we now move to definition of terms, and the first one is stability. What is stability? According to Collins English Dictionary, stability connotes staying calm and controlled despite problems or difficulties. Extreme calm, impassivity, and steadiness. Serene, incapable of being upset or agitated, not easily excited. Calm and imperturbable composure. A stable state of the emotions, balance, collectedness, coolness, equanimity, harmonious states, unruffled self-assurance, not easily upset, angered, or affected? Well, from the definitions above, it could be deduced that stability is not inactivity. It is not lack of concern. It's not lack of interest in what is going on around us. It's not sitting on the fence or sidelining oneself. Now let's look at crisis. According to Merriam-Webster, crisis has to do with excited, confused, or disorderly situation. Tempestuous, stormy, turbulent, full of confusion, raising a great clatter and commotion, highly agitated as the mind or emotions, disruptive, troubled, or disorderly, having great disturbance, uproar, chaos, or noise, confusion, violence, riotous, and so on and so forth. So what constitutes crisis? In recent times, it has become normal for us to wake up and read in the newspapers, or listen to the radio, or watch the television news, or even watch live inharmonious occurrences around us, or in distant states and countries around the world. These turbulent occurrences, which may not be exhaustive, include wars and rumors of wars, nations rising against nations. For example, the Israeli-Palestinian crisis, inter and intra-boundary disputes around Nigeria and other African countries, increasing intolerance in religions, race, color, so on and so forth, increasing insecurity, violence, banditry, terrorist attacks, kidnappings in almost all nations of the world. Internal wars like the Syrian war, which has raged for years without any solution in sight. The recent End SARS protests around Nigeria, which left endless tales of woe on Nigerians. Natural occurrences like tsunamis, hurricanes, cyclones, earthquakes, with their attendant problems and loss of lives and property. Emerging and re-emerging diseases like pandemic, like the coronavirus, COVID-19, and now we are hearing of Delta COVID, the human immunodeficiency virus, AIDS, Ebola, avian flu, swine flu, Lassa fever, and so on and so forth. These have taken their tolls on human lives. We cannot forget to mention the farmers-herdsmen clashes, which have become daily occurrences in many states of Nigeria. These, no doubt, claim lives and properties. Kidnapping of school children in secondary and tertiary institutions in Nigeria has become the order of the day. Some of those kidnapped end up being murdered. Of course, well-meaning Nigerians and other adults, even traditional rulers, are now being kidnapped on a daily basis. It's like kidnapping has become more lucrative than armed robbery for the perpetrators. The perpetrators of these crimes go under all sorts of names. Boko Haram, ISIS, that's the Islamic State of Iraq and Syria, Al-Qaeda, Al-Shabaab, militants, cultists, gangsters, and so on and so forth. These problems and more have shaken the very foundation of our society and threatened our existence as humanity. Now let's look at the causes of crisis. We can cite injustice. People's rights are being violated. Greed, unnecessary accumulation of wealth, selfishness. So many people think of me, and me and myself alone. Man's inhumanity to man. Yes, the way people are now being slaughtered like fowl. You don't know what the world is coming to. Immorality, rumors, now the social media, you can see all sorts of fake news going around. All these things can build up to a crisis situation. Well, according to a crisis expert, Tony Jacques, he says that the real causes of crisis are more likely to be bad planning, poor maintenance practices, human error, unethical or dishonest behavior, unresponsive culture, leadership failure, poor judgment, and many others. We'll go on to the effects of crisis on people and society. With a scenario such as stated above, there are likely to be unpleasant consequences on the people and society at large. And a few can be cited here. We can talk about destruction of lives and property, extensive morbidity and mortality of persons due to the pandemic, protests, and wars, destruction of public and private infrastructures, sexual violence, rape, incest, domestic violence of all types, prolonged emotional disturbances, provocative trauma leading to depression and anxiety, threatening mental health and heart attacks, illness, disability, pains, economic challenges, loss of employment, loss of income, disruption of the social and economic fabric of the society, disruption of the educational system. Schools are being closed because of the pandemic, and of course, incessant abduction of school children, not to talk about strikes, long-term physical and psychological harm to children and other adults. Many children are being orphaned because of war and these violent situations. We are now having many widows and of course widowers. Destruction of communities and families. Well, the impacts could be endless. And so what do we do in times like this? From what we have seen so far, it is an established fact that we indeed live in an era of crisis, which involve many exciting and confusing events or feelings. These bring about breakdown of traditional values of structures, the family, marriages, and economic downturn. Of course, many persons are likely to be desperate and depressed in times like this. However, all hope is not lost. As Rosy states, this is when you have to find your purpose in life. Consider what makes you unique and contemplate your legacy. This is a time for reflection on your purpose in life, what you want in life, how to make your life matter, and how to use your unique talents for the good of humanity. It may be difficult to come to any conclusion as to a purpose to life in general, but it behooves us, each individual, to have in mind at least some sort of personal purpose for your existence. Try to find out what role you should play in the activities of life taking place around you, as this will determine success or failure, especially during difficult times, which we all have to face. Let me quickly state that as a Rosicrucian mystic, you are a part of the society or environment that you reside in. Therefore, you are neither isolated or insulated from its influences, be they pleasant or turbulent. Rather, as seekers of enlightenment, the true mystic in every way faces life square on and lives it to the full, taking both pleasure and pain in their stride with gratitude for the very privilege of simply experiencing life. In order to accomplish success in crisis times, you need to understand yourself by remaining cool, calm, and collected. And this is where stability comes to play. So we now look at stability, a practical approach. There is this popular saying that evil thrives when good men do nothing. That means you cannot fold your hands and watch things go by. In these trying times, you cannot afford to be a puppet on a string being tossed by the wind. Human beings are known to be the highest creatures of God, being made in the image of God. Consequently, we possess all the positive attributes of God. We have the ability to command all nature, even in our deepest silence. And so let's take prayer. Do you know that prayer changes situations? Think of Psalm 23, which is a prayer for guidance and protection. Some of us learned this even in our primary school days. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He maketh me to lie down in green pastures. He leadeth me beside the still waters. He restoreth my soul. He leadeth me in the paths of righteousness for his name's sake. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for thou art with me. Thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me. Thou preparest a table before me in the presence of mine enemies. Thou anointed my head with oil. My cup runneth over. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I will dwell in the house of the Lord forever. Amen. With assurance such as the foregone, your life's challenges are in perfect hands. It is possible to attain harmony with ourselves, our environment, and the cosmos. And so why not calm the storms of your life by even visualizing the symbol of the egregore of our order, with the world being bathed in its increasing intensity of life. Let's take the overall exercise. Many of us tend to underestimate the potency of the overall exercise, maybe because of its simplicity. This exercise is capable of sensitizing our psychic centers, thereby enabling us to have the much needed harmony of man's accord with the infinite, which brings a warm glow of contentment known as peace profound. No doubt, when you attain a high degree of peace profound, you are able to face all challenging conditions with a philosophic and detached attitude to adapt and maintain a balance. Vowel sounds and music. The efficacy and value of our Rosicrucian vowel sounds cannot be overemphasized. Apart from the intonation, the idea force behind each vowel sound is very important. The intonation of vowel sounds not only affects the air around us, but also the psychic vibrations of the inner or psychic cells. Vowel sounds, we know, affect the sympathetic nervous system, the aura, and the psychic body. We also use a lot of music in our Rosicrucian work and worship. We refer to them as classical music, music of the masters, or music of the spheres. This brand of music produces a harmonious and pleasing effect on the person, thereby stimulating the regenerative processes within. It also enables proper attunement with the cosmic because it has a definite relationship between our consciousness and cosmic consciousness. Needless saying that this music produces sensation of peace as well as spiritual and mental tonic effects. Really, as a Rosicrucian mystic, you are armed with an invisible talisman, which remains very frightening armor to the elements. We are exposed to a myriad of principles and exercises to enable us maintain calm and balance, even in trying times. I have only been able to scratch the surface here, as these may not find expression in this presentation. Conclusion. It is often said that when the student is ready, the master will appear. Stay true to yourself, fratres and suras, for within each and every one of us is a light that, when nourished, will shine bright in the world of darkness. Although we live in these trying times, the impact of this can be ameliorated by avoiding careless living. We can achieve fulfillment even in times like this by applying the triple A's of action, attitude, and attunement. By action, you should be mindful of your deeds because as a mystic, you have the ability to influence the changes around us and bring about favorable outcome. Attitude, we have to persistently apply ourselves positively towards our goals. We must never lose hope or give up our endeavors. Hold positive thoughts at all times, knowing that in every cloud there is a silver lining and there is light at the end of the tunnel. Attunement. We are aware that there is an underlying harmony that unites all things in the universe. Therefore, we can always commune with the cosmic forces governing everything in existence, known as the cosmic hosts. This we can do by attuning ourselves with the cosmic meeting ground, known to Rosicrucians as the celestial sanctum. We should be aware that we are in a world of manifold realities, and we need to raise our consciousness to that degree of ecstasy and attunement where it may free itself from material realities only. There is a saying that tough times don't last forever. And of course, when the going gets tough, it's only the tough that can get going. Make it a part of your life to think good, speak good, and do good. In all aspects of human relations, be honest, sincere, forgiving, grateful, and show love so as to attract sin. Challenge is necessary for growth and evolution in life. Without challenge, life becomes stale and boring. Hence, we are taught to see challenges as stepping stones rather than as stumbling blocks to progress. You are therefore encouraged to expend every possible effort to live daily the harmonic rapport that unites us with the divine, so that through conscious revelation and illumination, we become forever instruments of cosmic harmony and universal peace. With these and more, it is possible to remain stable even in our world of crisis. Thank you.
Thank you very much, our past master. Thank you so much, our dearly beloved Soro. The message is keep in communication with the divine. And once we are so attuned, we get inspiration to solve life's challenges. Life challenges, we have been told, are part of humanity. We are not shielded from them as Rosicrucian mystics, but we are to apply the tools our order has given us to solve the challenges and to be beacon of light for others, so that indeed we grow into a better world. Once again, I want to thank Soror Vivian Edet, past master of Apollonius Lodge, for her wonderful lecture. At this point, we'll be taking a break, but remember we are celebrating SIROC at 20, so we will be broadcasting some documentaries on our past activities. And do prepare your answers for after the second lecture. We are going to take the questions and answers and comments from our participants. Meanwhile, let's take a break. Thank you. Welcome back. Thank you for watching and observing some of our past activities. At this point, I would like to recognize the GC of Lagos, Frata Babatope Ogunowo. Thank you, sir, for joining us live in Lagos. We shall now continue with our lecture, and the next is titled, Women, Where Have We Gone Wrong? We have heard the first lecturer talk about drug abuse and child delinquency and all that. So now our second lecture will be taken by our Regional Monitor Emeritus of ISIS Lodge, Soro Olabimpe Giwa. Soro Giwa comes with a very high pedigree. She holds a bachelor's degree in education from University of Ife, now Obafemi Awolowo University, Ile-Ife. A diploma of advanced study in education with special reference to counseling from University of Kiel, England. A master's degree in education from the University of Manchester in England. She joined the services of Lagos State Government in 1974 and rose through the ranks to become Tutor General and Permanent Secretary, and retired statutorily in 2009. She is a trained screenwriter, and some of her works have featured in national TV, courtesy School of Media and Communications, Pan-African University, Lagos, in conjunction with Goldsmiths University, London, and supported by the British Council. She joined the Rosicrucian Order in 1981 and is a Regional Monitor Emeritus. I present to you Soro Olabimpe Giwa. Ma, you are welcome.
Thank you very much. The Grand Administrator, the National Coordinator, the National President SIROC. Permit me to stand on the already established protocol because of time. My topic is women. Where have we gone wrong in parenting? There's no doubt that the current times in Nigeria are tough, rough, and dangerous. We can say dangerously tumultuous. We should have been having this program live, but here we are on Zoom. Why? Certainly not because of COVID-19, but because of insecurity caused by banditry, kidnapping, terrorism, and what have we? Basically, man's inhumanity to man. We hear and read of increasing acts of violence and infringement on other people's rights and privileges with impunity within communities, among families living in the same compound, and even among members of the same family. These men and women who commit these acts of violence and infringement were born of women and raised in homes and communities with mothers and women. What went wrong? And why are we focusing on women, since it takes a man and a woman to produce a child with the consent of God? We will consider that later. And what are some of the ways forward? Now, let us start by focusing on the center of parenting, that is the child. According to the Rosicrucian Order Amok, a child is a fruit of love and the noblest expression of the miracle of life, a manifestation of the most supreme divine law of God. Although a child is an extension of the parent, he already has a personality of his own and his own life mission, not the life mission of his parents. And God has given each child to a particular set of parents from whom he will benefit the most. According to the Rosicrucian Order Amok, having a child is a privilege because not everyone that wants a child gets one. Having a child is a great responsibility because it involves taking care of the child for some years before he assumes independence. And having a child should be a blessing if the responsibilities are discharged efficiently and well. We can therefore ask, how did this beautiful handwork of God, with the essence of God in him, becomes transformed into an agent of destruction that we cannot now move about freely? Now let's consider the parent. To be a parent means that God has entrusted a living soul in your care. And parents are expected to raise a child in such a way that will bring out the best in the child for the child to fulfill the purpose of his creation. To do this, parents must nurture the child physically, mentally, emotionally, socially, and spiritually. Parents cannot raise their children alone. They need others in form of people such as house helps, drivers, cleaners, and what have we. And also they need institutions such as church, mosque, school, club, which in turn bring in other people into the lives of these children. It is an established psychological fact that children acquire large units of their behaviors through watching and imitating others, including their parents, as their first models. From birth to their early years, children spend more time with their mothers, and therefore, mothers must be consciously mindful of what they do and say in the presence of their young children as a matter of routine. And mothers must note that the responsibility of the choice of the other people and institutions that will have direct contact with and influences on their children is the responsibility of the parents. Whatever behavior a child copies from other people other than the parents will persist if the home permits it. I repeat, whatever behavior a child copies from other people other than the parents will persist if the home permits it. Mothers must therefore be observant as a matter of routine to note any strange behavior in their children and to correct through dialoguing and giving the rationale why such behavior is unacceptable in their home. Proverbs 22 verse 6 tells us, train up a child in the way he should go, and when he is old, he will not depart from it. The violence and violation of other people's rights and privileges we are now witnessing are reflections of the behaviors the perpetrators learned when they were children from their parents and relevant other adults as the way they should go, and from which they are now not departing from, to our own detriment. Now let us consider parental practices. For the purpose of this discussion, we shall consider the components of nurturing, that is physical, mental, emotional, social, and spiritual separately. Identify some areas where parenting went wrong and is still going wrong. Suggest some ways forward. But please, we must note that the components are interrelated. Now let us take physical nurturing. By these, these will include feeding, clothing, and shelter. Parents are to feed their children with balanced diets, comprising proteins, carbohydrates, oils, vitamins, and minerals. Mothers culturally have the responsibility of cooking and taking care of the home and of teaching their children, especially their daughters, these arts. Parents are to clothe their children appropriately for the weather and in line with societal norms without violating the sensitivity of others. They are to provide a clean home, even if it is one room, where the children can live, learn, laugh, and where they are loved, respected, and cared for. But what do we have? We have a considerable junk feeding during the week, with lots of sugar through soft drinks, resulting in hyperactivity in children, which the parents cannot control. At weekends, when mothers should create some time to be at home, to cook and clean with their children as their assistants in training, they are at one party or the other, or they are with the children at fast food outlets eating junk food. Skimpy dressing by old and young, male and female. Body hug attires by women, young and old, with display of fat lumps. We now have some churches insisting on citing wedding gowns before wedding day, the responsibility of the mother. Old men and women dyeing gray hair black, while the young ones dye theirs white. We have domestic violence, child abuse, lack of respect and regard for one another within the house, the same family, and especially with the house helps, drivers, and gatemen. Now, what are some of the ways forward? 1 Corinthians 13, verse 11 says, "When I was a child, I spoke as a child, I understood as a child, I thought as a child, but when I became a man, I put away childish things." Mothers, the day each of you became a mother was the day some personal sacrifices ought to have been made by each of you in terms of some habits and things of youth that you needed to give up, such as body hug attires, talons in the name of nails, short skirts above the knees. Well, some of you might be saying, how do we now keep the interest of our husbands? There are so many other ways in which you can keep the interest of your men. How you present yourself is how your children, especially your daughters, will present themselves. It is okay when they are children, when they dress skimpy, but when they become adolescents, young adults, imagine your 18-year-old adolescent daughter with body hug and with talons, the nails they attach. How would you feel? You will now start telling that child, and you cannot go out like this, when it was you who showed her that way of dressing. Now your home must have rules and regulations based on the values you and your husband must have agreed upon and the norms of your society, culture, and your state. The laws in your home can be broken down into simple routines with clearly defined expected behavior patterns. Routines by nature are repetitive, and they help the subconscious over a period of time to accept them as laws and to internalize them. Some of the routines could be regular time for waking up during the week and another time for waking up at weekends, and regular time for going to bed. Family prayers at the beginning of the day and at the close of the day. I always tell young mothers with their first babies, please in the morning when you wake up, you hold the hand of the child of your baby Let your husband hold another, and you and the husband, you and the father join hands together. You have formed a circle. You pray. You do this every day. Your child comes to learn that he or she must pray before going out. There must be timetable for homework and personal studies and also leisure in the home. Assign age-appropriate responsibilities, that is housework, to each member of the family with time frame attached. Even if you have house help, your children too must learn how to do certain things, because the house helps one day will go, your children will become adults, and you will not be around. In other words, each home must have a timetable of activities for the day, including food timetable, with each member of the family knowing what is expected of him or her in this series of activities. And the chief supervisor of the smooth running of the timetable and the home is the mother. Whenever necessary, the children must also be able to make inputs into timetable, particularly if changes need to be made. You teach them how to take decisions. Mothers must also fulfill their own assigned duties and responsibilities promptly and correctly to show good examples. When a child steps out of line or violates aspects of the set standard of the home, appropriate sanction must be imposed. You have to be cruel to be kind. When you punish a child, it appears you are cruel, but you are being kind to that child. Such sanctions must be age appropriate, personality appropriate, and close to the time the violation occurred. And also, please, you must teach acceptable alternative behavior. Please do not threaten your children with sanctions you are not going to impose. In this way, you undermine your authority and your effectiveness. Please do not ignore violations. Don't keep ignoring violations on the ground that you are too tired or that the child is too young. No child is too young to be disciplined. Now let us look at mental nurturing. Now it is a known fact that intellectual development proceeds in a regular, unchanging sequence of stages as made by God, not man. It is also a known fact that all characteristics and abilities of a person, as well as his developmental changes, are the products of two basic complex processes of maturation and experience. A child does not begin to talk until he attains a certain level of intellectual maturity, regardless of how much teaching is given. But when he attains that maturity, the language he acquires will be the one he hears around him, he hears those around him speaking. That is experience. Also, his verbal proficiency will be a function of the encouragement he gets from relevant people for his verbal proficiency. Please praise your children when they do things right. Don't only punish, don't only sanction. Praise them when they do things right. Now we find that educational systems all over the world recognize the relevance of matching intellectual development with cognitive skills and have therefore carefully matched the curricular contents to be taught in schools with the stages of intellectual development. That is, aligning nurture with nature and not putting the cart before the horse, as we are doing here, most of us are doing here in Nigeria. Hence, we find that in Nigeria has fixed ages 3 to 5 plus for pre-primary, 6 to 11 for primary, and 11 plus to 12 for entering secondary school. Now, educational policies also cater for inculcation of social norms and good health habits, molding of character, and developing healthy attitude and sound morals in the learners for their survival and that of the society and for self-reliance. But what do we have? Parents who push their children out too early into formal schooling before they're intellectually mature or school ready, and then rush them through the levels of formal education in line with their own designed crash program. And of course, this is with the connivance of some private schools, particularly at the primary school level. And what happens? The alignment of nurture with nature becomes lost. And man had been and is still racing ahead of nature, ahead of God. And what will be the consequence? The consequence has always been failure, and it will continue to be failure, frustrating the young children. And that is why we have increased depression amongst our young ones and increased rate of suicide. Now, learning, which should be fun in spite of its challenges, becomes an uphill task, which becomes more pronounced in the secondary school and gets complicated with the onset of puberty in girls and adolescence in both boys and girls. Many learners, particularly those in secondary schools, though in schools, give up on studying and spend their time on pleasure-giving activities and social media, readily available, even in their homes, uncensored. And when it is time for examination, will want to pass at any cost. And they get the support of some of their parents to go into examination malpractice. Emotionally mature children at the age of 15 plus or 16 are in higher institutions of learning, where there is no lighthouse, where there is no housemaster or mistress. And what do we now have? We have emergence and proliferation of what I call glorified secondary schools in form of private universities. Now, please let us know that private schools are business ventures with stiff competitions amongst them, resulting in quite a number of them compromising on standard in order to meet the demands of their customers, that is the parents, and to retain their patronage. And as such, some will tell their teachers to moderate their marking styles in order to sustain the illusion of parents that their children are exceptionally brilliant. They are sometimes mandated to assist these children during external examination. And they are also restrained from disciplining the students. Some parents follow their children to school to complain, verbally abuse, and sometimes beat up teachers for sanctioning their children. The result of such occurrences had been and will continue to be that teachers would overlook some misbehaviors they would ordinarily have corrected amongst the students. Thus, character molding by teachers in schools is thwarted. By whom? By the parents. Now, way forward. Now, for parents who have not made the mistake, please, I'm begging you, do not rush your child out too early into a school. Let him enjoy his infancy with you as the main model and with you there to assist him comprehend your language, not English language. When he starts preschool at 3+/4 years, please do not leave him in school till when you close from work. Some parents from school, they ask the school bus to drop the child in another center to be taken care of. When does the child have time to rest, to interact with you as the main model? And please allow your child to be 5+ or 6 years before he starts primary 1. With our system, he will still graduate at the age of 22 or 23. I started school at 22, I started school at age 6, I graduated at 22, even with kindergarten 1, kindergarten 2, standard 1 to standard 5, 7 years in primary school. There must be no conflicting values between your home and the school and the relevant others that your child must come in contact with for a considerable length of time. So please, when choosing a school for your child, make sure that what obtains in that school tallies with what obtains in your home. The values that you want in your child can be taught by that school. Treat your child's school and staff with regard and respect as they represent constituted authority. They may not be as rich as you, but they represent constituted authority to your child. Never miss out on the open day of your child's school. It gives you the opportunity to relate with your child's teachers one-on-one in the best interest of your child's mental development, academic progress, and character molding in line with the value system of your home. So where your child is in a private school where teachers have been told not to correct, on the open day, you give the teacher the authority to please correct your child in certain ways. Please don't miss out on the open day. Avoid situation where your child goes from school to lesson. In that situation, we have what we call overlearning. And the result of overlearning is failure because the child does not have the time to study on his own, to practice. We are told practice makes perfect. So he must have the time at least to study on his own at home for about 2 hours, doing his own work and doing some personal reading, and longer hours during the weekends. The corollary is that he must have a personal study timetable at home with at least a study corner with a tall stool and a shorter one, and the school timetable and the personal study timetable pasted in that corner. During study time at home, no phone, television, radio, or any major distraction. You must also be prepared to sacrifice these pleasures. There must also be leisure time at home and in school, which is called the co-curricular. Mothers, please be actively involved in this aspect. You must know what your children are up to. And during the holidays in particular, please plan some things for them, some leisure, some creative, constructive leisure activities. Now let's look at emotional nurturing. At birth, newborns seem to have only 2 identifiable emotions: distress and contentment. They cry when they are hungry, wet, or in pain, or when they are tired or frightened. And they are happy and relaxed when they are just fed. But after a few months, the infant displays additional emotions, such as curiosity and interest. Anger, usually triggered by frustration as a result of being stopped from achieving a desired goal, emerges later in the course of his development. But by the age of 2 years, a child has a sense of self-awareness, a realization that he is a distinct individual with a sense of me and mine, and a new consciousness of others, which foster the growth of a number of self-conscious emotions, such as pride, confidence, shame, defiance, jealousy, empathy, and affection. A consequence of self-awareness is what psychologists refer to as the age of negativism, between the ages of 2 and 3, with fairly wide individual variation when the child gives negative responses to a considerable number of demands made of him, even if they are gently made. Please, parents must watch out for this period. Poor handling of this phase could mark the beginning of stubbornness. Proverbs 22, verse 15 admonishes us thus, and I quote, "Foolishness is bound in the heart of a child, but the rod of correction shall drive it far from him," unquote. And Proverbs 13, verse 24 tells us, "He that spares his rod hates his son, but he that loves him chastises him in good time." But please note that the rod need not be in its literal sense like it was done for us in those days. What do we have? We have mothers receiving their female friends as guests and discussing indiscriminately with gestures and emotions to match in the presence of their children. We have display of certain emotions regularly by parents in the presence of their children, such as lack of respect and regard for one another, rudeness, aggression, indiscriminate, indiscreet sexual communications, even when non-verbal. We have 3-year-olds who beat their mothers back angrily when corrected, and some even throw tantrums in public. And what do mothers do now? They laugh. I shake my head when I see such. It annoys me. We see parents accepting their children's impulses, desires, actions, and thus allowing the children to be in control of the home where the mother should be in control. What are the ways forward? We need to revisit the practices by our parents by understanding the rationale for each of their practices. Our mothers entertained their female friends without us as spectators to tape recorders. They did us, themselves, and the society a favor by sending us out to play, but within monitoring range. Our parents had their disagreements, but not aggressively. And when visitors entered, such disagreements became suspended. They had their sexual communications without the children knowing. They disciplined the infants who beat the nipples with his newly grown front teeth, the incisors, while sucking. So why can we say, why then do we now say a 1-year-old, a 2-year-old cannot be disciplined? They grew a conscience in us. If we can do this for our children, they will be able to cope with the pressures of their present-day world and its social media. Parents need to establish a stable emotional relationship with each of their children before their daughters in particular reach puberty, when they become subject to hormonal effects, which could be erratic and less controllable, coupled with the cognitive development that will make them, both boys and girls, prone to prefer to imagine the possible, the probable, and even the impossible. And instead of focusing on what is real, they will explore these impossible things. Now, let's go to social nurturing. Parents are the first agents of socialization and learning a child comes in contact with. They are the ones to initiate the teachings of their culture, including the roles expected of each person, of the child, of the mother, of the father, of neighbors, and this and that, to the child, such that the child can fit into the society. Each home is expected to have its own set of socially acceptable attitudes, values, and moral standards. The modes of passing this on to each child must be built into the child rearing practices of each home, in line with the personalities of the children in that home. But what do we have? A considerable number of us have abandoned even the good aspects of our culture without understanding the rationales behind them. Parents treat their children like eggs and consequently do not take kindly to others, including their teachers correcting them. Parents who violate traffic rules and use foul languages on other road users with their children in the car. Parents who show no respect for others in their interpersonal relationships with them and who treat house helps like slaves. The injunction, do unto others as you wish they should do unto you, is only for the Bible. A considerable number of teenagers and youth who are too busy on social media 24 hours of the day looking for dates and how to defraud others. What are the ways forward? We have dealt with this largely when we're talking about the physical, the home environment. But please, basically, let us go back and look at our various cultures. What were the things our parents were doing? Let us understand the rationale. If the method they used has become outdated, let us update. But don't let us throw out everything. Now, let us look at spiritual nurturing. We all know that God exists, man exists, and a certain relationship exists between man and God. Parents are to guide their children towards establishing their respective individual relationships with God, who is the anchor that will not let them sink in the face of storms, that they will not come through storms of life, they will come through storms of life, but they need that anchor. And we are told that a family that prays together stays together even when separated, when apart. What do we have? We have many churches and mosques all over the country. Yet we have increasing wave of crimes. We cannot move. We cannot travel from Lagos to Calabar anymore. We have corruption, and what have we? Many of us can be said to be surface worshippers of our faith, who fail to imbibe the essence of our respective religions at the subconscious level, and consequently unable to be consistent in our practice of our faith, and therefore bad examples to our children. You find some young ones who will tell you that they forgot to pray in the morning before going out. So, way forward, we need to re-examine ourselves from the spiritual point of view and make necessary amendments. This is an individual thing. Mothers must cultivate the habit of praying with their children daily, in the morning and at night. It gives you some opportunity to teach the children how to pray. A colleague's sister told the children, please, when I come back home, don't tell me small stories. But they had the habit of praying every night and rotating. So it was the turn of one of the children to pray. And the child started, God bless daddy. God bless mommy. God bless, God punish auntie, so and so. So the mother said, what happened? And she said, apparently it's the housemaid. Now she gives them small pieces of meat. And the mother said, why haven't you told me this? And they told her, Mommy, you told us not to tell you small stories when you call. So if they had not been praying together, the housemaid would have been eating the protein portion of the children's food. So please, prayer, apart from getting the children right, also gives you an insight into their thinking mentality and what they are going through. So please, let us cultivate that habit of praying with them daily, in the morning and at night. Mothers, as a matter of routine, must create the time to interact with their children after attending a religious or mystical service to find out what they have learned from the service and how they are to apply such lessons in their daily living. Please, please, let us do this, mothers. Conclusion. I want to conclude with two quotations from Unto Thee I Grant, page 24, and from Anton Farrar. You will find that in our child culture. And from Unto Thee I Grant, I quote, "Consider thou who art a parent, the importance of thy trust. The being thou hast produced, it is thy duty to support. Upon thee also dependent whether the child of thy bosom shall be a blessing or a curse to thyself, a useful or worthless member of the community. Prepare him early with instruction and season his mind with maxims of truth," unquote. And from Anton Farrar, I quote, "Give me the care of any child of good blood," that is, healthy child, "for the first 7 years of its life. And I will show you 10 years later a youth of refinement and personal elegance. And 20 years later, a man or woman of admirable culture and eminent success in life." Unquote. The molding of a child into a blessing or a curse for the mother, a useful or a worthless member of the community, takes place between birth and the age of 7 years, during which period the child should be more with the mother. So you now see why we are focusing on the mother and why, some cultures will tell you the good child belongs to the father, the bad one belongs to whom? The mother, because she didn't do her work when she ought to have done it. So mothers, please let us wake up to our God-assigned responsibility and for which we shall account. There are relevant texts, including the Order's Child Culture Courses 1 to 3, to assist in the effective discharge of this wonderful responsibility with wonderful outcomes if you do your job well. I thank you. I used some references which included some books, the Holy Bible, Unto Thee I Grant. So I want to thank you all for listening, and I want to thank the organizer for giving me the opportunity to serve. Peace profound to all of us. So let it be.
Thank you very much, our beloved RME. Like I said before, she comes very high pedigree, and she has thoroughly schooled us as the teacher that she is. Some quick notes. If you want to produce responsible children, you have to be responsible parents. If you want to produce children that will become a problem for the society, then you don't do your responsibilities well. She has made us to understand that mothers are the closest to children, and that we should be mindful what we do around our children. She's also made us to realize that we do not need to push our children quickly to pass through the educational system. I personally made that mistake with one of my children, and it took going back to start all over again before she could make up the lost years. And I will also say that violence being perpetrated by children are sometimes behaviors they copy from parents. Now we have been told the result we want to see we must be. Once again, I want to thank our beloved RME for that very insightful paper she delivered. I will now ask that we go into our period of question and answers. I would like to ask our RME a question, and it is about the dichotomy between the private universities and the public universities. A lot of us will want to send our children to the public universities, but you see the issue of strike and a lot of lecturer molestation of children, especially our girl children. And these are some of the things that really discourage us. And you see a lot of frustrations. Sometimes children will do their work and the lecturers will not pass them or let them go. Sometimes lecturers will deliberately, keep your paper and say, sleep with me or something like that before I can give you, what you deserve. Some of these activities in our public institutions really leave much to say. And I think we should talk about that. Thank you, ma.
So you want me to take it on now?
Yes, ma.
Okay. Well, along the line, you cannot protect your child all the time, please. But you can teach them how to say no, how to stand up for themselves. Many parents nowadays, they take on the, let me put it in quotes, fight for their children. We went to universities. It's not new that lecturers would want to sleep with, but it depends on you. And then parents also they have opportunity. They have days when they can interact in the university. But if you choose to be too busy to get involved in your child's total upbringing, then it's your fault. In the days when we were in university, we had a lecturer. He told us, the first day he started with us, that if he enters the lecture hall before us, male students could enter, but female students must not enter. He gave us that rule. And we asked why. And he told us that if a male student entered, he would not be destabilized. But if a female entered, that his head will go. So one of us decided to test him and came in after he had entered. He immediately sent her out. So, with individuals, there are boundaries. You teach your child how to have a boundary. Secondary school, you have gates, you have gatemen, you have house this, you have that. But they must learn how to live without all those physical boundaries. So strikes come on because if lecturers are not well taken care of, you have people earning so million for doing nothing. Lecturers will be there studying, reading. It's not easy to mark. I have been a teacher. It's not easy to mark students' papers fairly. So please, it's a matter of choice. But even if we have private universities, please let them relax a bit. How can an undergraduate be in a university and not be allowed to use phone? When will he or she use the phone? He's not allowed to go out, but yet the girls sneak out. We know what they do. They sneak out. And the parents feel comfortable that, oh, my child is. Put them in public universities, but you must also be ready to visit them at any time. Sometimes even at 12 o'clock in the night, to check on them in the room. So they know that they cannot go out anyhow. They know, my mother may come, or my father may check on me. But most of us, we are always too busy, too busy, and nobody will look after your child like you. The Yorubas will tell you, Somebody else's eyes cannot be like your own. So please, let us balance. The private universities, yes, they should exist, but they should give these children room to grow, to become independent, not as if they're still in secondary school. Is it when they get to their husband's houses that they will now learn how to be independent? And we have many marriages breaking down now. And some of us now, we match make for our children. Just planning everything, not leaving them to enjoy what God wants them to be. That's my own view. That's my own
Thank
view.
you very much, ma. Thank you, ma, for your question, for your answer. Please keep your question coming in as we are taking them. We have a question from Ogenevu, and it says, may I request if our beloved RME's outstanding lecture she has given today be made into a book to enable members to have access to it for reference from time to time?
Child culture is there. Child culture is there. Child culture series 1 to 3. You will enjoy them. And also relevant books on psychology. You will enjoy them. Please, young mothers or mothers to be, please go and buy books, psychological books so that you know the stages of the development of the child: physical, emotional, intellectual. And the Child Culture Series 1 to 3, excellent books.
Yes, ma. Thank you very much, ma. Sorrow Vivian, I would like to ask a question. And my question is, the crisis we're having now, especially as concerns us, women, mothers, is food crisis. It is really serious. Like somebody said that 100,000 naira is now behaving like 10,000 naira. I don't know how much meditation or techniques we can apply to help us ameliorate this problem. Ma, do you have any suggestion, any advice?
Me?
No,
Well,
I'm talking to
that's
Sorrow
the
Vivian. But ma, you can answer, ma.
No, let's Sarah Vivian go.
Okay. So your question, actually, I'm not clear about it.
My question is, how do we cope with this food crisis?
Okay.
As mothers, now we have heard that we must cook balanced diets for our children, give them protein, vitamins, and all of that. And everybody knows that 100,000 is behaving like 10,000 these days. How do we cope in this situation?
Well, thank you very much. I think this is something we just have to cope with. I don't think there has ever been a time that things were so easygoing for every family to be able to afford this much talked about balanced diets. But then, as women, we have to have this culture of economy, trying to practice the real economy. So whatever you have, you can always provide for your family. For instance, it is not only when you go to the market to buy a big chunk of meat or big fish, whether fresh or dry, that you can make a good meal. All around us, there are those things that you can make do with. Well, like here in Calabar, where we are, we have this sort of species of fish, crayfish, shrimps, and so on, that you can always make a good and nutritious meal with. You don't have to think of getting something on the high side You don't feed because of your social status. You feed because you can afford something. And there is always something that you can afford. The vegetables, the fruits, and so on. The protein, you can always have something that your pocket will be able to get. So please don't think of except you buy so much kilo of meat. You cannot give your family the required nutritious meal.
Okay, ma. Thank
Can
you
I
very
add,
much.
can I add something?
Okay,
Like
ma.
he said, please have food timetable. It helps you to plan. So you know the quantity of gari that you need for the month. You know the number of times you are going to eat gari in a month. You know the beans. So please have your food timetable. And it, like she said, is not new that food prices, have gone up. There was a day, in the past, we had a slang, boycott the boycottables. That, before we used to use tin tomatoes to cook stew. How many people use tin tomatoes now? So when the crisis came at that time, some things that could be boycotted, such as tin tomatoes, were boycotted. Sardine, boycotted. You could buy your own fish in the market and do the sardine fish, do it into flakes and do your fish. So please boycott the boycottables. The okra, we call it ila laseko. There are ways of going economical. And please, your children must avoid waste. And please, for young mothers, the corollary now is that you must plan on the number of children you will have. Please, please, please. Once you have a male, you have a female. There's no third sex. Abby? So please don't come up with battalions. For every child, for the firstborn child, you are going to nurture that child for how many years? 20-something years before that child becomes independent. And if you put 2 years space with the next one, that's, if we say the first one goes out, leaves you at 24. If you put 2 years for the second one, that's 26 years. So you are committing some number of years. So please reduce, do some family planning. Please, please, please. Whether you have a male or a female, as long as the child is a good child, you bring up that child to be good, you bring out the best, please. So please, parents, look at what you can boycott now and still give the balanced diet. You can crayfish, you grind it. It is good. Beans is protein. You don't have to go for kilos and kilos of meat. Fish, there are other grades of fish, lower grade that you can buy. Remove the bones, do the extra work, remove the bones, and let your children still have a balanced diet. One pawpaw you buy, you slice, everybody in the family will eat. You have the minerals and the vitamins. Please.
Thank you, ma. Thank you so much for your comment. But there's a question for you here. Somebody say, I commend RMig. Oyedele Owolawi says, I commend RMigiwa for the brilliant lecture. May I ask, what is Sorogiwa's opinion to caning in schools, considering the fact that children learn from adults? Are there no other less violent ways of disciplining a child rather than using the cane?
Well, I don't believe in caning a child. When I was a teacher, when I started my youth service, I was posted to a school. And in that school, you had children of ambassadors, high ups in Lagos. And we could cane, but I never believed in caning because my father would if he needed to discipline a child or give you some rationale, he will invite you when he's going out. Oh yeah, please go with me. And as you went with him, he will be discussing, giving you the rationale. So in those days, I would give them lines. You know what we call impositions in those days. My lines, one sentence will be about 5 lines. And number 1, you write for me in blue. Number 2, you write in black. Number 3, you write in red. Number 4, you write in pencil. So, and there must be no scratching, no. So you had to read the sentence. And by the time you finished writing, the correction would have entered your subconscious. And I will not mention her name. She's a big Nollywood star now. She will be begging me, please, please, my mother must not see me writing. I said, why? She said, she would ask me, she would tell me, after writing your teacher's own, 25, you will now write my own. So please, there are other ways of punishing. I don't believe in caning. Caning hardens. But if a child understands what he had done wrong and the way to do it right, our mothers of those days, if you did something wrong, they will not chase you. Maybe you will sleep. Abi? Then at night, when you are quietly sleeping, your mother will wake you up and sit you down and begin to question you. What you did in the afternoon, you yourself, you use your mouth to say it. You yourself, you will tell her why it was wrong. And you yourself, you now tell her what you ought to have done. So please, I believe in reasoning. Let the children understand what they have done wrong and how they could have done it better. Caning hardens people. I don't believe in caning. I never believed in it, and I still don't believe. But a quick smack at home, my mother's is in order. You know, they are Barauni Beji Pa. But I don't believe in teachers caning. It's not in the interest of that teacher. You'll be wasting your energy. There are other good ways.
Thank you very much, Ma. And right now we know that most state governments and even federal governments, through Child Rights Acts, have abolished the use of canes. Let me take on a quick question for Soro Vivian Adet and Paracelsus Lodge. Somebody is asking, why is it that people who live positive life have more challenges in life than when they try to be stable?
Well, I really don't see how living a positive life can lead you to more challenges. Rather, it should reduce the challenges, because living a positive life actually implies that you now know the right thing to do. You now know how to apply your time well. You now know how to relate to other people. So I really don't see that as being the outcome of your having more problems. Rather, it should reduce your problems.
Thank
I
you
don't
very
know
much.
if
If that satisfies the
okay.
person that asked the question. Thank you very much, Ma. I want to invite our national coordinator, Soro Bridget Idiodi, our mommy, if she can make some comments on SIROC at 20. Yes,
Rosy
mommy.
Cross,
Keep the rose
Keep
blooming.
the rose blooming.
thank you very much for this wonderful program. I am very happy with all the facilitators so far and the lectures they have given. SIROC is 20 years old in existence as part of the Restriction Order AMOC. Members of SIROC are the people who have registered as a member in the order, and their friends as well who are not yet members. As a result, we are using SIROC to bring in members into the order. We are also happy that those who have joined through the program of SIROC every year, either in Calabar or in the zone, as we are doing now, have formed a platform where we have trained the women. You can see that those of them who are presented and those who are presented tomorrow have been tutored and guided in leadership, in homemaking. I'm quite sure those who are having their husbands as members are very happy with what we have done so far with our members. So we are using this opportunity, even though the country is as it is. By the time we are going to come to the convention coming in October, we may put up some program to be able to remind ourselves that we have been 20 years coming. And we hope that those who have not joined us will join us to better their spiritual life, give opportunity for women to express themselves as we have been doing since morning. If we don't have this SIROC platform, I'm quite sure some of our members will still, some of the women will still be shying away from presenting themselves, but this is an opportunity now to express themselves, to give out what they have learned to the public as well, and encourage others to do same. So we thank you, women, especially our SIROC members, our past presidents, zonal chairperson, and all the members from the zone. We say a big thank you to you for being persistent and carrying out the principles of the order in your thoughts, in your utterances, and in your conduct, and also imparting it to your children, the other members, and the colons especially, now that we grow up to become the light bearers as well. You have done so well, and I congratulate you all for all the inputs you have put to bring the restriction order, especially in the West African administration, to this point in our lives. Thank you all, and God bless you.
Thank you very much, our dear mommy. A question just came in for Soro Vivian. And for Soro Giwama, the question from Ogenelvo says, what could be attributed to the different behaviors exhibited by siblings of the same parents?
Well, like we told you, that the Rosicrucian order and psychology will also tell you that children have different personalities. Please, when they are giving lectures on astrological influences, please try and attend. We have children in different astrological signs. And also these children, they have come with different karmic baggages, plus and minuses. So the fact that they have come through the same parent does not mean that they will behave the same way. If you have 6 children, you have 6 different cities. So please study them as individuals. Please don't treat them the same way. Occasionally, you can treat them the same way, but please note what each child wants. Like a colleague of mine, she is a Sagittarian, she had a son, a Taurian, and they were not seeing eye to eye. And she will be telling me, this boy is doing this, is doing that. And I told that he doesn't sit with them to eat at the table at the same time. I told her he is avoiding you, the mother, because of this way and this way that you normally behave. And she laughed. And I told her, please, you know he loves plantain. When they are frying plantain for the house, tell the house help to please leave his own plantain. Make provision for him. Don't fry everything, and when he's ready to eat, there's nothing for him. And she started doing that. And she came back to say, my Elona is now, relating with me better. So please, as parents, your children are not the same. Each has come with his own personality and his own mission. So study them and make allowances for them. And in your food timetable, note what each child likes and make sure that provision is made on the timetable for what each child likes, please, such that a child does not meet up with only what he does not like on the food timetable. When you make that consideration, they know you have taken them into, you have taken their personality and their personal likes and dislikes into consideration. So please stop treating your children as the same thing, as the same. Don't dress them alike, I beg, but decently.
Please,
Thank you
can
very
I
much.
contribute to the question?
President, okay, ma, go ahead.
All right. We are told in the child culture, the Rosicrucian child culture, that the emotional state of the mother during pregnancy affects to a great extent the behavior of that child. And we have noticed that most of the times, the firstborn children, they behave better. And that is because all the love and all the excitement the parents had when they got married, with that love, they gave birth to those children. And then before the family problems start coming up. So it is very important that the mother, during the gestation period, is happy and is under no emotional stress, because that can affect the behavior of that child. And the mother should desist from watching violent movies, you know, where there is bloodletting, there is shooting and all that. The mother should not do that during pregnancy, because it has been made clear to us that whatever emotional state the mother is will affect the behavior of the child. So in some cases, that is why you see some children behaving better than the others. And the men can help us in this regard, because during pregnancy, there are hormonal changes in the women that will make them have some behaviors. The men have to be patient with us and not put us under any kind of pressure during pregnancy.
Thank you very much, ma. Beloved fratters, I hope you have heard. Somebody said from Louis Lodge, now we talk of children not well or properly brought up. What do we say to a mother who sold her best friend, old classmate child that attend the same school with her? That's from Soroyibo. Sorogiwa, please, can you comment on that, ma?
Somebody sold her best friend's child.
Best friend's child.
Best friend's child. A person who is supposed to be your best friend should ordinarily not have sold your child. It means that you considered her as your best friend, but she did not consider you as her own best friend. You get what I'm saying? So please, in our relationships in establishing relationships with others, please, 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 let us be mindful. Don't easily trust people. You know your heart. You don't know the heart of the other person. And the person would have been showing you signs, but you probably, the so-called best friend, probably did not take the signs that this person is not my best friend. this person is my enemy. That person would have been talking about money in such a way that should have scared that person not to have entrusted her child to her care. Because the person who sold the person's child would probably not have been thinking about it just overnight, would have been talking about money, acquisition of money in such a way that even her so-called best friend should have withdrawn from her, not to talk of entrusting her child to her care. So please let us be mindful of those we call friends. Do they think like us? Do they view money like we view it? What are their attitudes? Please, as long immediately you see that they are not in tune with you, please draw back. You don't have to fight. You don't have to quarrel with them. Because like the Yoruba will tell you that even the bad person has a good a day of his own that can be useful to you. So please let us be mindful. And like I always tell young people when they are getting married, if you notice, when they get married and say, oh, my wife is behaving like this, I used to tell them, she had been behaving like that before you married her. You were overlooking it, thinking that after marriage, such habit will be dropped. I used to tell them, any bad habit you notice whilst courting yourselves, that habit will become pronounced when you get married. So if you cannot tolerate it, please break the relationship before you enter into it. So please note those you call friends. Please. And the present day Nigeria is that you cannot trust anybody now. Don't put you, it is not, you should take responsibility for your child. Go and pick your child at school. If somebody is helping you, there must be time that the person must bring the child to you. There must be a kind of routine. So for a friend to have opportunity to sell your child, I think that person gave that friend that opportunity. Because children will want to tell you that I don't like going to this place, but we don't listen. Like most of our children in private schools that they go in buses, in the school buses. Do you know how they pack your children like sardine? Many parents don't know. Please, let us get close to our children such that they can confide in us. If they don't learn to confide in you as children, they will never confide in you as adolescents. Please, not to talk of young adults. Please.
Thank you very much, ma. Ndi Nkanwu dropped a comment. He says, in addition to the answer given in respect of having problems as a result of living a positive life, may I add that living a positive life makes one know why one must have some problems in life, and of course, how to overcome such problems. Soro Prefer from Talis Lodge Amok also dropped a comment. This is a comment parents should build confidence in their children so that when the child confides in them, it is not used against them. Otherwise, they may end up not knowing who their children are because they may pretend or hide their feelings to the parents. Ma, you want to make any comments on those? Want to say something on those comments?
Well, they're correct, because if you must get close to your child as a young child before the age of 7, so that that child can discuss anything with you. My sister's son, when he was in the university, will be telling the mother that, and the mother will shout, and he will tell her, I'm just telling you, because they had been close from the start. So he could discuss anything, even some naughty things he could discuss, and she will be there to guide. But please, the essential thing is that when they are young, from birth to when they're in the primary school, please let them have absolute confidence in you. Let them know that if they make a mistake, you are there to correct them, not to keep reminding them every time that that is how you did. Last year, that was how you did. When you were in primary two, that was, they will stop confiding in you, like Soro Prefer said. So please Befriend your children. Befriend your children. Mothers, let them trust you so that any problem they have, they will come home to tell you. And together, you will resolve. You will show them the way to get through. And please, mothers, I always tell mothers, please, your little girls, please stop dressing them up to look too beautiful. Please, hide their beauty. Let them hide their beauty when they're still in primary school. Because when you highlight material things, beauty, when they get to university and they understand it more, then they will dress in provocative ways. But when they learn to be natural, when they get to the university, they will not dress in a way that will tempt the lecturer. Like I was telling a young father who said the daughter had I told him, please tell your daughter, if you're a Muslim, to join the Muslim group. If you're a Christian, to join the Christian group. So that the cult, she will not be available for cult invitation. And then tell her if she has a nice figure, not to be wearing dresses that will show the figure. Let her just wear flowing gown. There's a time for her to wear that dress that will show the figure. Because let us face it, when a man sees a beautiful figure, he will look at it now. Abi? Huh? And if the beautiful figure has no boundary, of course, he will make some propositions. So please, parents, your daughters was in primary school, please let them be plain. Let them be plain. There's time for their beauty to come out when men will really see them and appreciate them for who they are, not what they, that being a woman, but they will represent them they will appreciate them for the qualities they have. Please.
Thank you very much, our beloved RME and our beloved Soror Vivian. It's really been an exciting time here today, getting all the knowledge and information we need to cope in the face of crisis at this time. Before we go to the next item, I want to say that our beloved mommy, Soror GB Idiode, the founder of this noble association, Sisters of the Rosy Cross, she, through activities of SIROC, has groomed a lot of us women, groomed us emotionally, physically, even sometimes educationally unknown to her. For today, she has made me become a broadcaster, something I never knew I could do. She builds confidence in women, and I use this medium to appeal to our fratres whose wives are not members of the order. At least make them members of SIROC. The difference will be clear. When women thrive, the home thrives, the husband too will thrive. I want to thank her especially for the opportunity she has given me as a person and all members of SIROC to come out and be better human beings. Thank you very much, ma'am. On this note, I would like to respectfully invite the Regional Monitor Emeritus of Cromata Lodge Enugu and Vice President of SIROC, Soror Eunice Atta, to give us the closing benediction. While we are waiting for our RMA to come on, please, all clusters should take attendance and forward to AWAD for proper documentation. And also remember that we shall be convening here again tomorrow at the same time for day 2 of our seminar. Thank you very much for attending. Okay, we seem to be having challenge with connecting to our RME. I will now invite past master of SIROC, regional monitor of Morning Light chapter, Kaduna, to take the benediction.
Which of the benediction? Morning one?
Benediction.
Okay.
We are closing.
All right. Please sit, relax. God of our hearts, God of our deepest understanding, we are thankful for this seminar, the way it went this day. We are thankful for the attendees. We are thankful for all the lecturers that gave their lectures, and they were very wonderful. As we leave here for today, may we be able to internalize all the lessons learned, apply them for the progress of humanity, and in particular, benefit our families. So mote it be.
So
mote it be. Thank you very much, our beloved RM. Thank you very much to all participants. Let me at this point just quickly recognize SIROC National Executive, Soro Florence Nwosu, our President, Soro Eunice Atta, RME, our Vice President, my humble self, Soro Basi Ekesfi, Secretary, Soro Nefetiti Ohimai, Assistant Secretary, Soro Justina Odiakose, Treasurer, Soro Janet Didam, Financial Secretary, and Soro Gladys Ona, Media Officer, and of course our PRO, Soro Okuchaba. Thank you all for participating in this program, and see you again tomorrow. Thank you.